I need to make sure that if I'm out and I win the lottery at lunch, that Kelly can pick up the phone and just pick right up where I left off with that customer. And it just creates a great customer experience.
They're not your files, they're the agency's files, and you will go on vacation, you will be out sick, people will call in. Like, there are things that are going to happen. So while you can do it your way, and like that might work 80% of the time, it's that 20% of the time we need to slow down and speed up to have organization. All right, so I'm joined here today with the wonderful Miss Bobby. Bobby, who is currently stuck in snow and loving her life. I'm sure the grandkids like the snow at least.
Oh, they've loved it. It's been my granddaughter's very first snow. And so she just stands at the back door all day long and says, no.
She's going to work on the snow.
We don't quite have this down yet.
The dog's not so much, right?
Yeah. Oh, the big one it has ventured out. The little one thinks, no, he doesn't need to go outside. He'd rather go inside.
My dog hates rain, but likes puddles.
Mm.
Yeah. So it's a little awkward some days, but that's okay. We'll get through it. But we're talking about one of Bobby's topics today, which is how do we document insurance files on point? And I think that this is a great topic because one, it saves so much time when we can document files correctly. There are so many things from an E&O perspective, and really we're going to try to focus on process and procedures. So Bobby, kind of from the Epic side, from all of your time in this wonderful industry, maybe you could just start by like a quick rundown, like why? And I think think about this from you're talking to the agency owners, because that's usually who listens to our podcasts. And I think that they don't always use the systems the same way the team does, but I see so many reasons why. So Bobby, tell us let's use this as your therapy session.
Well, file documentation, I think one of the reasons why it's so critical is because I've been involved in situations where I've needed to go back and rebuild and retell a story. And so if you've never been in that situation, thank goodness, and I never wish that upon anyone. Right. But those people that have been through a situation like that, where they need to defend their agency or they need to defend their staff, they understand how critical file documentation really can be. There's always three reasons why I say we need to document a file. We need to make sure our system is updated to its fullest. One of them is our customer experience. I need to make sure that if I'm out and I win the lottery at lunch, that Kelly can pick up the phone and just pick right up where I left off with that customer. And it just creates a great customer experience. Our customers trust us, they know us, they like us, and we can really wow them when they call. And so I think that is crucial to anything that our agency does, because our customers pay our paycheck.
True.
And if they can't trust us and we don't document their files properly, we're really not doing the best we can do for them. The second reason is, we need data and analytic points for agencies to be able to make decisions about what their staff is spending time on. Where do they need support? Do they need another piece of technology? Is a process or procedure potentially broken, or we need to analyze that to enhance it and give more time back to our team so that they can spend more time with our customers? Anytime there's data or analytics that we need to gather as an agency, we should be documenting those things and making sure that we have a way to keep track of those things. And then the third thing is to protect our agency from errors and omissions. Those are my biggest three reasons why documentation is so critical and so important. When it comes down to protecting your agency, that is the key. Most agency management systems, your activity notes, whether you call them activities, tasks, suspense, whatever they're called in your system, normally that is the only place that is date and time stamped. Everything else can be moved, changed, amended, deleted. And so that date and timestamp is crucial and critical, and we have to get our people doing it in real time.
Yeah, I like that. And I also feel like it also can cause frustration between team members. So hear this a lot, like they don't document enough notes or they document too much. I was like, well, where's Goldilocks? Okay. Like, to me, I feel like it was super important that everybody understand like what the expectation is. And so if you want to leave more, that's great, but put the synopsis up front, right? Like just a little like, so somebody doesn't have to go digging and digging and digging. Like we don't need, and stop me if you feel differently, but like we don't need, it was 72 degrees. Like I just got a fresh cup of coffee.
Yeah.
So and so called, and like they had indicated that they were getting a colonoscopy tomorrow. Like, like we don't need like all of it. Sometimes I think you just need to get down to brass tacks. Like in my perfect world, there'll be bullet points, but that's my personality, and there's not like just like
Yeah.
one, step two, step three. But I think that without any clarity on it, people start infighting a little bit. And like, I don't want to touch their work because their notes are sloppy, or I don't want to do this because I can't follow it. And really, there has to be the agency's way of doing it. And I know you walk into a lot of agencies, I do as well. I have my own feelings on it. But my biggest feeling on it is like, there just has to be a directive. And then whatever that directive is from agency ownership, if somebody believes differently, like that's cool, but you need to be here. Because that's it. Like in fact, the agency I'm at right now, they're on Epic, and a third of the team doesn't append the notes.
Mm.
They just creating new ones because that's how another system that they were on did it.
Yep.
And so I'm like, well, we just have to get that clear. Like they have to append the note because now all their activity accounts are way different, and your reporting's jacked, and all of these other things that it sounds silly, right? Like I feel like dedicating a whole podcast to file documentation is actually really weird.
It should be normal and natural, but
it's not, right? Like it's super not. And that's why I think, we become a good resource for people. So I do have, as far as documentation goes, can we talk about some of the things that should never, because it's like, it's fun. I think everyone's just like more, right? But I'm like, there's some things that like never should go.
Yeah, never document. We had this conversation, I think, with an agency the other day, and somebody was very surprised when I said, do not put your personal feelings in
person was upset and raging bitch. Like, no, back the train up. And you have to be careful that you're not putting your own narrative in. It should be factual in nature, right? Like
absolutely. I think that's where we can get into trouble too. I mean, we think we're doing the right thing because we're expressing that interaction that maybe we had with a client. And sometimes our clients might be a little feisty when they call us, but that is not for the file documentation, right? And maybe that person was having a bad day, and I don't need that in their file documentation, because what I need to be able to do as an agency is turn that information over in the case of a claim. And ultimately, that is what we're doing, right? We're building a future of protecting ourselves. Not only are we helping right now with our current client interactions and creating a wow customer service moments, but we're also protecting ourselves in the future. And when I start putting my personal opinions and my own personal narratives and my own personal biases into my client's documentation, there could be times where now I can't turn over those file notes to an attorney or a judge. And now we end up paying a claim that maybe shouldn't have been paid to begin with.
Yeah, I like to think, imagine being read in the court of law. Or I think, was it Jimmy Fallon does mean tweets? Like they have the actual like person like read the mean tweet that got mean tweeted, or mean X, I guess now. I'm so old. So I think another thing that we should never, ever, ever put into, some of the file notes also is like, and this is delicate, but like if you make a mistake, do not be explicit, like we screwed this up. Again, and the guys, this could go into a legal situation. Like that's like, it's kind of like you get to an accident and maybe you have hit somebody and you say, oh, I know I'm at fault. Like, hold up. Like, how do you know the sun wasn't in somebody else's eyes and the car didn't malfunction? But the second you do that, guess what? You're getting the ticket, you're getting the citation, and in a claim situation, it's going to come against you. So I like to say, we don't need to, we just say, what did we do? Sent the client the auto ID cards, added vehicle, whatever it is, but don't put in, and then don't talk smack about other team members.
Right.
Lucy did not. So I fixed it for Lucy, who still does not. And I'm like, okay, like again, like that's not the place for that. That goes to their manager to deal with, not the management system.
Well, and I think, in all of this too, consistency is key, right? Because when we are inconsistent, that is where we can get into trouble too. If we're not consistent with our file documentation, we're not consistent with the way that we interact with our clients. This is where they will find loopholes and gaps and try and ding us as agencies because of inconsistency. So those are the types of things that they're looking for, is where can we find inconsistencies in your
Yeah.
file?
So true. So another thing I think with documentation, I know you're very passionate about, is naming conventions of attachments. And every management system are slightly different, right? So like some have folders where you can categorize items, some don't, some it's attached to the activity. And so like they're all over the place. But I do like what you say a lot about just the consistency and naming conventions. So I'll let you say it because you say it better than me.
Yeah, I think that, there is never a reason to change your agency management system just because somebody can't find it, or because I like to store it using this code. When we can be consistent in our naming conventions, it really is going to make it easier to find things in the future. It makes for a cleaner system. It makes for a neater system. I think back to the days when, we had what did they call those things when we would divide everything by letter and then we would stick it into the client's file, right? Remember back in the day when we had actual files?
And carbon paper, my favorite, carbon paper.
Exactly. Well, and I think about the fact that, when we had actual files for our clients, what did we put in those files?
Receipts.
We put receipts, we put deck pages, we put things that were truly important
Post-it notes.
to the file, not just whatever willy-nilly, right? We were very intentional because somebody had to file that. Somebody had to sort it, somebody had to file it, somebody had to pull the client's file and put it in there. So we were much more intentional about keeping those files neat and orderly and clean. And for whatever reason, now that we store things electronically, we become a little more
Relaxed.
careless. Yeah, relaxed is a good word in the way that we do things. And so I think that really having a strategy and understanding, getting everybody when they sit down on day one to say, year line, a description of what I am doing, or whatever you want your naming convention to be, but be consistent, because that now you'll be able to sort it. And in any system, when you can export things into Excel and sort things, if I use a dash or a slash, it makes it harder to sort those things. So whether you can sort in the system or whether you export things to other files and you can sort that way, unless we're consistent, sorting is not our friend.
Yeah. And I also think that, just to kind of wrap everything up, as you're creating your naming convention, like people will memorize it. It's just a matter of like giving it 30 days and then it becomes normal and natural and things are easier to see. I think everybody, I'll leave everybody this, like everybody uses the management system for them. And that's not the point. The point is interconnectivity, right? Like, well, I can find my files. They're not your files. They're the agency's files. And you will go on vacation. You will be out sick. People will call in. Like there are things that are going to happen. So while you can do it your way and like that might work 80% of the time, it's that 20% of the time we need to slow down and speed up to have organization and have rules, et cetera. So for those of you who need help with this, we actually have our 10 agency processes. So you can go to our website, grab those. One of them is file documentation. So we actually give you a whole template, right? You do not have to overthink this. All the things as you're driving, you're like, I need that. I need this. I need this. Oh my gosh. Totally get it. But just go get our templates. Okay. They're pre-done for you. You take them, you use our questions, you answer them, you update the process, and now you're ready to go in your business and we speed you up so that way you can have the best practices right at your fingertips. So in the event that you are struggling and you want all this, plus cancellations, a new business process, a renewal process, an endorsement process, all the things, that's just one item. But we start with the basics because this touches everything that you do in an agency is your file documentation. So Even when I wanted to pick up how to pick up the phone, that's the other one I'm always like, it's in my mind, I can't believe I have a whole like lesson on how to pick up the phone, but people love it because they're like, hold on, we have so many challenges with people picking up the phone here. At the agency I'm at right now, we just spent about 90 minutes talking about the need for people to pick up the phone. I was like, how like,
I've spent a good majority of this year on phones too. So it's a common problem. Maybe we need to do a whole podcast on phones.
Just nobody wants it. Well, I did one with Teresa on pick up the damn phone was mine.
Oh, good.
I think we modified it a little bit, pick up the darn phone, but like it's ringing and we all say we're a great customer service, but nobody wants to pick up the phone. I'm like, tell me again how great we are at customer service when no one wants to pick up the phone.
and then they don't want to document the file.
Yeah, it's like, so thank you, Bobby. I hope you enjoy your snow day. I hope everybody's safe and sound. And for our listeners, thank you so much. Check out our next podcast next Monday. We'll see you soon.
We'll see you soon.